Hi, y'all. Welcome to the table, where we embark on a journey through the mysterious world of cryptids with a panel of notable researchers in the cryptid universe. Today, we're going to start by talking about the types of Bigfoot. So pull your chair up to the table and let's get started. Duke, I'm going to hand this one over to you because this is your forte. The
Gugwe, yeah.
Gugwe. I always say it
Yeah.
wrong.
The only reason that I even did any research on that subject is because the first um, sighting encounter that I had was when I was 10 years old in northern Minnesota. And what I saw did not look like a regular Bigfoot. Of course, at the time, I didn't know what a regular Bigfoot looked like. But shortly after that, did some research and went, hey, Patterson Gimlin film, that's a Bigfoot. Well, it sure as hell wasn't a Bigfoot, whatever it was. And it literally took me until spring of this year to get what I consider to be a fairly accurate answer on what it was that I saw. And as it turned out, that wasn't a Gugwe. But in the meantime, I did a whole bunch of research on what are other things that are in the woods that look like Bigfoot. Because now I know there's at least two weird things in the woods. There's a Patterson Gimlin film, and that sure as hell looks real to me, so I'm accepting that's real. And there's something that looks like that running around the woods. And then there's this other whatever the hell it was thing that I saw, which clearly isn't the same thing. It's also running around the woods. So there's at least two things running around the woods that people are not telling us are real. And I found that very annoying and disturbing. As a kid, when adults keep telling you there's no such thing as monsters, and then you go, I just frickin' seen one right there. Quit lying to me. What else are you lying to me about? Well, pretty much everything, as it turns out. But it takes you many decades to figure that out. And that's one of the reasons that I got into doing conspiracy research and stuff too, because, well, if they're lying to you about this, what else are they lying about? Well, a lot, as it turns out. Virtually everything. The greatest cover up in history is the cover up of history. And so there's, a whole lot of stuff that you can get into with that. But what I started doing was researching the old Native American legendary from near my area, especially. What other things do they have named as cryptids? What are their descriptions? Which one matches this weird thing that I saw? And of course, there are several things, like Wendigo, Janoskwa, Gugwe, several other lesser known cryptids. So you're sorting through all this, trying to figure out what it is. Well, in the process of this, of course, it came across the Gugwe, and that was one of those things that most of the Algonquin Federation and tribes even further east all had a name for it. And I had a list of all the names of Bigfoot from thanks to Kathy Muskovitz Strain with her book Giants, Cannibals, and Monsters, where she listed the names of pretty much every native tribe in North America had for Bigfoot. And some of them she got right, and other ones she didn't get right. But one of the things that was interesting that I started looking at that list and went, wait, some of these have multiple names. So then I started looking at other information on specific tribes. And this tribe over here has three names for cryptids that sound vaguely like Bigfoot. Why have they got three names for it? Well, and sometimes it turned out it's because like there was one famous one they were interacting with, or there was some big story about them locally and they had a name for them, like the Ohio Grassman, which is not a subvariety of Bigfoot. It's just a local name for Bigfoot. Same thing with some of these tribes. They would have a local one that was like famous or whatever, and they'd have a nickname for him. Nobby, that's another one that, a white man named Nobby. I'm sure Momo, the Missouri Monster example. So you have to look at what is this name actually, what's the description of it. And if they're just talking about one individual critter, you can discard that. That was just a name for a local Bigfoot. But way too many times they kept coming up with this thing where it wasn't a local name for a Bigfoot. They already had a name for a Bigfoot. And this other thing they were talking about, the description didn't match. But all these other weird things that they were talking about, a lot of them, the descriptions between the tribes, they did match. They weren't describing a Bigfoot, but the description from this tribe would be the same as the one from that tribe and that tribe over there. And they all had a slightly different name for it. But clearly they were all describing the same thing that wasn't Bigfoot. And then in I think it was the 1780s, Mr. London and his crew were at Lake of the Woods in southern Canada, just north of Minnesota, and doing some logging there. They were the first white men in the area. They had a whole team with them because they were not only going to do the logging, but they had to build a logging mill, and they had to have natives there to supply food for them while they were doing all this stuff. So he had a big crew. And while they're in the process of surveying and setting up stuff, the natives came and told them that they had run into some weird monster in the area and that it looked pretty dangerous and you don't want to go over in that direction. And of course, he just went, "Oh, let's capture it. I got about 100 men here, all heavily armed. Let's go catch it." So they took half a day, and the natives showed them where this thing was, and they made a big drive through the woods. And according to the rumors, they actually managed to catch this thing, beat it down, tie it up, and then brought it back to camp, observed it for 2 or 3 days, during which time its cubs came into camp and wanted to hang around. It apparently was one of the parents. They also said that it wouldn't eat any vegetable matter at all, but whatever meat they gave it, it ate with great avidity. So whatever it was a carnivore, not matching Bigfoot very well so far. Also had short claws on its hands and feet, again not matching Bigfoot, and had a snout, not matching Bigfoot. So the rumor, according to the end of the story, and this is weird newspaper article from 1780s, is that they had put it on a boat, shipped it down the Mississippi, and they were going to take it over to London, that one, and display it over there. And that's the end of the report. There is one since then, but that's probably the first report of somebody sighting and or potentially capturing a Gugwe in North America, because the description matches exactly with what all the natives were talking about. So, so then I started looking into it more, and since then I've had people send me pictures and record encounters and all that kind of stuff. Thankfully, they're not very common because they're really dangerous. But yeah, that's another cryptid thing that's out there. And in the recent video that I released talking about the massacre at the Land Between the Lakes, the witness that was there, who was Officer Elkins, first responder from the Fish and Wildlife there. He was a game warden, and he lived closest to where the incident happened, so he was the first responder. And his report of it, that after the military went out and shot it full of holes, turned it to Swiss cheese, hauled it back on a deuce and a half, he got to take a look at it, and it did not look like a Dogman or a Bigfoot. Description matched a Gugwe again. And just even more, like 2-3 days ago, one of my friends was watching somebody's Bigfoot channel, and they were camping in the LBL, and my friend got a screen capture that this guy hadn't even noticed. It was on his video. In the background, there's what looks like a Gugwe peeking around a tree watching them.
Wow. So I was going to ask if you thought that they were being misidentified, or that Dogman was being misidentified. You just said no.
Yeah,
Completely.
frankly, there seems to be a lot more evidence that the Gugwe are more aggressive and dangerous than Dogman are, and they look very similar to them. So anybody that doesn't know what the hell they're looking at, and somebody goes, "Oh, could it be a Dogman?" Oh, yeah, it had like a snout and stuff. Sure, it was a Dogman. Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah.
And I think Bigfoot and Dogman are both getting blamed for things that these things are doing,
Yeah.
because they're too
Yeah.
similar to them, and most people don't even realize Bigfoot's real, much less that there's more than one kind of cryptid.
That's right. That's right.
Right.
So getting into the Gugwe, Duke, have people often claimed to have seen a werewolf when in fact they're seeing a Gugwe?
See, that's what I wonder. And a
Yeah.
lot of the bad behavior that's attributed to Bigfoot, where you don't have an actual physical sighting. Well, how do you even know a Bigfoot was doing it?
Right.
And this is one that I hope that doesn't change. Me and Stephen have seen several Dogmen. We got pictures and stuff like that. And at first, until I started talking with Duke, I have a Native American friend that actually I'd heard him speak of a Gugwe before, and I just kind of dismissed it. I'm like, oh man, it's just Bigfoot. But I started talking to Duke. Like I said, the characteristics, they tend to have 3 toes they tend to whistle and communicate. You know, they're called whistling bears. They're face eaters, you know. And then you read this account from LBL, and it's the same. But I actually have a picture. I got a picture of one. He actually ran up on me on March the 1st, 2020. I had just left Keith Crabtree's spring camp out down there. And I had seen an X structure there, and I was going to go look at it before I left. I had to go church that night.
They lured him into the woods with a tree structure.
Exactly what he did. And so I'm down there looking at it, and all of a sudden I look behind me in this oak flat, and here comes this creature running on all fours. And I'm like, oh man, it's a big old hog. Well, the closer it got, I'm like, that ain't no hog. And then I realized, I thought, that's a Bigfoot. So he slows down and he starts walking there. He turns and looks at me like this as he's going. He kind of walks through some brush. So I try to run down there right quick to catch him because I've already got my phone out. I'm going to take a camera. I've actually, ran towards Bigfoot before. As I'm going down there on this trail, I happen to look down there and there's a laying log right there. As I look at this laying log, I noticed the weird configuration that it had. And all of a sudden, I zoom in and I just see just a little bit of movement. And there's this stupid Gugwe that is hid down behind this log, and he is massive as well. I mean, he is really massive, and he's got his ears kind of perked up like that, and he's looking at me, and I stop, and I'm like, oh my gosh, and I realized then, because what made me know, it had a snout, and I'd never seen the ones that we have at Ground Zero, they have a little bit short, just a little bit short snout right there, but this was a snout like a dog. I'm like, holy cats. So I'm sitting there looking at that, and I stop, and so he's sitting there looking at me, and finally he turns his head and he looks over his shoulder like that right there. And whenever he does, I assume there from what I talked to my buddy who's Native American, he said, when I told him, he said, well, did he look over his shoulder? And I said, yeah. And he goes, he was hunting you. He said he was fixing to kill you. They were hunting you back.
Usually there's three.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And man, like they talk about the velociraptors in Jurassic Park. You've got 3 of them suckers. And so thank goodness I was able to stop. I got 3 pictures right quick. And then I took off running and got back to my truck. Thank goodness. Well, my buddy, I told him about it. He wanted to come back the next day. And I couldn't do it because I had post-traumatic stress. All I had was a 40 caliber Glock. Well, coincidentally, my son had bought me a 45-70, same 45-70 you've seen some of the pictures. And so we went down the next day and we took about 60 pictures, lining these things up, trying to disprove ourselves, okay, you're not just imagining, and you couldn't do it. But then we also had tracks right there. These tracks appeared, as Duke said, the Bigfoot, I've got pictures of Bigfoot there. I've got pictures of Bigfoot hands, and Bigfoot has fingernails just like we all have. These things had claws, and they were very, very odd shape. I'm going to try to do what Daniel did a while ago. I don't know if it will show up, but y'all are looking at the Gugwe.
That is a good picture.
This is right as he walks up on me. I seen it. I did one on Duke's show right after that, and I got the other.
He's peeking over the root ball, giving the grimace to William, like, "What the hell are you doing? Follow me."
You can see like right through there, or I guess I should do it on my darn phone. Right there, where his face is, right there. But he's sitting there he's just intent. But you can see the malintent on his face. He's like, I'm fixing to eat you, and there's not a whole lot you can do about it. Truly, and thank goodness, like I said, I left it. Well, that's when I called my buddies a Native American. He said, yeah, man. He said, our people, they're reared. Our people, he said, they saw him. And he said, if he was looking over his shoulder, he said, you were fixing to be supper. So I was very, very grateful. And now I don't go to the woods without something bigger than a 40 caliber Glock. Like I said, I generally carry a 45-70, and my son actually bought me an elephant gun. It's $25 per shell to shoot this thing. Head men tell no tales. I guarantee you, I'll fill him full of holes and stand him on a daggum phonograph player, stick a water hose in his mouth, and use him as a lawn sprinkler, because I'm not going to let him get me a fight.
I have carried that gun before out there in the research area, and it's like hauling an artillery piece.
Yeah.
It is.
Pretty much what it is.
Yeah, and the Bigfoot are not afraid of it. Like I said, Daniel got a picture of me standing there. I sent it to y'all last year, and I'm standing there. I've got the 45-70, and there's the Bigfoot peeking out behind the tree. Got the 45-70. He's not paying attention. And then these pictures, like I said, that Daniel sent to me a couple of days ago, I've got the same 45-70, and they're sitting there looking at me, like I said, dispelling the rumor that you have to have camouflage because I've got on a chartreuse shirt, and I've got a 45-70. 45-70 in my hand, and here they are, not even, they're paying attention to me, but they're not afraid of me. They know I'm not going to hurt. So really, really a strange encounter, but I got to see that Gugwe. That's where I was, thankful that I talked to Duke, learning some of the characteristics of these things, because I was still thinking it's a Bigfoot. And so far my Bigfoot, I'd only had 2 aggressive encounters by that time. And I thought, well, it's going to be like that right there. They're just going to try to bluff me out. This one wasn't going to bluff me out. You could see on his face that he intended to, you know, I was about probably 270, 280, something like that. He had meat for a week there, you know. So, but anyway, he was going to eat it with chipped teeth because I was going to give him a good dose of lead if I could have. And even now, Christy Sci-Fi, she tells me all the time, she said, "Will, be careful where you're on ground zero. There's Gugwe up there." And so it is, but there's another called what, Duke? It Beast of Seven Shoots, and that's what it's called.
Yeah, Beast of Seven Shoots. That's another classic picture of them.
Ooh.
I got probably about a dozen good pictures of them in my collection, including one that Christy took when she was out driving in her car. She came to her truck, came to an intersection. It's all woods in every direction. You're obliged to stop because there's a stop sign.
Right.
Turns to her left and looks. There's a friggin' Gugwe right over in the bushes looking at her. So she quickly snaps a picture and then stamps on the gas and gets the hell out of there. But the the nice thing about the picture is it's a face-on shot because it's looking at her,
Right.
which gave us the opportunity to actually do a comparison. Because for a long time, my theory has been that the Gugwe are actually relatives of baboons, and we have bones of gigantic fossil baboons presumed extinct called Dinopithecus. Dinopithecus, when it's on all fours, is eye to eye with a modern human. They stand up on their hind legs. They're like 8-9 feet tall. We do not know if they had tails or not. Gugwe are not reported as having tails. Gugwe can be distinguished from looking at a Dogman or a Bigfoot basically by observing two things. First of all, their head. Dogman, they got big ears that stick up. Gugwe don't have those. They have ears on the side of their head, just like a Bigfoot does. Some of them have tufts of hair that stick up, like a lynx or something, but that's not connected to their ears. That's not their ears. So again, it makes it even easier to get confused and not know what you're looking at. And if you can see the whole body of it, if it's got backward-facing legs, hocks like a dog, it's a Dogman.
Right.
Gugwe have legs like a Bigfoot or a human.
You know, and as Duke said about the getting misclassified there, the ones that Stephen and I have seen, Stephen's got one of the best pictures you'll ever see. We catch a Dogman leading 3 Bigfoot up a hill and then a mama and a juvenile. Great picture. I mean, you see that it looks like a doggone hyena that's on steroids leaning over like that right there. And I've sent you all the picture, and you can see the big old head. But like I said, none of the ones that we've had have been aggressive to us. You know, and that's what's really strange. You know, I thought, man, maybe Dogman, because I've seen a couple more besides when I was on my own. One time I was by myself on my UPS truck up at D Queen, Arkansas. And then I was there also down at Sims, Texas, right there on the banks of Sulphur River, and then saw another. They didn't offer to mess with me or nothing like that. I mean, they had me if they wanted me, you know. But other than that, so I'm like Duke. I think that they're getting the Dogmen are getting a bad rap based on what the Gugwe are doing.
Well, here's from my personal experience. I've got them on video 3 times. One time we were up at the ghost town. We were setting up camp, and it was like right before dark. We barely had time to get up there before it was dark, set up camp. I got my camera. I'm just doing a slow pan around camp. There's one about 30 feet away standing between 2 trees watching us set up camp. And then the other 2 times, they were actually in with a group of Bigfoot that were observing me. And both times I managed to get multiple Bigfoot on camera. And both times there was one lone Dogman in with them. And the one, I walked so close to him, I could have reached out and touched him. I didn't even see him. But I got him on camera. And that was when Keith Crabtree was up here, as a matter of fact. He had red eye.
Yeah.
He was not looking happy. But my point is, if they're, first of all, they do hang around with the Bigfoot. And secondly, when they do, I think they're pretty much obligated to go by whatever rules that tribe, troop, or clan is running with. If they, break those rules, they're not allowed to be there anymore. And so if, they're like, okay, we put up with this human, he's not annoying, down Fido. So you're probably not going to get, you're not going to get attacked by the Dogman. I know the one up at Coloma, Robin's talking with Mindspeak before, and he just he's like, he isn't really part of either of the 3 groups that are up there. He's just more or less friends and on good standing with them or whatever. But him and one other Dogman that are on top of that mountain basically just keep an eye on the ghost towns up there for whatever reason, which is creepy. Yeah. But as long as you don't mess around and wreck things up and leave trash lying around and You know, if you find game cams and you take them away, then they like that, things like that. So we don't have any problems with them.
Here's, I'm going to show y'all one more. This is the Gugwe, the other photo there that I got. And you can see the difference in the head position where he's looking straight on right there looking. Then you look the next one, like I said, you can see how he's more alert and something like that. These are the two photos. I got two photos just like this one. And then I got the other one where he's looking back over his shoulder. But again, scariest thing in the world, you know. And if you didn't know something about him, y'all be having another guest tonight. You know, had I not been able to be able to be with Duke on the show and him explain what he'd had and talk to my friend who was Native American. So
now, Blaine had a run-in with one of those up there where he lives too, and it was lucky I caught him right about the same time. There was started moving into one of his Bigfoot areas, and he didn't know what the hell they were. And he asked me, and I went, "Oh, dude, don't go do research there anymore." No. And before I forget it, the reason I brought up that LBL show that I put out recently, because first of all, pretty sure that Gugwe did it, not Dogman. Right. Second thing is that picture that Christy got of that Gugwe face on, I got to do a side-by-side comparison with fossil skull of known giant primate Dinopithecus. And when you look at his face and you look at that skull right next to it, those suckers are identical. So if it isn't Dinopithecus, it's definitely very directly related to it.
I think I said a while ago, I think I said December. I was looking at something here on my phone. It was actually March the 1st, 2020. It said December 1st, 2020. But it was actually March the 1st, right as, you know, everything's starting to get, you know, spring fever and everything else like that. So I think I misquoted it. But anyway, I said it was because I was looking at my phone there trying to find something. So I wasn't trying to tell anybody a story. Just misspoke right there because I was looking at it on my phone. But on you know, March the 1st. And this is like, I mean, live as it happens. And I'm just a sucker. I'm still looking at the tree that's crossed. Everything on the tree, you know, one side is perfect to the other side, and I've sent that to y'all. You can make the comparisons. And all of a sudden, here comes this Gugwe, and they're coming from that doggone oak flat, and I'm positive that he saw me and was running towards me. You know, sometimes you have the Bigfoot deals, and they're just running through the woods, and you coincidentally capture. This was not that way. It appeared that he was running exactly towards me for a reason. Now, I can't say that because I'm not a dadgum Gugwe psychologist, but I'm telling you, based on his body actions and what I know about Bigfoot and stuff, he was going to get me. And so very fortunate to be here, and I won't be unarmed again. That's why you asked Daniel. Like I said, I go down there between me and Reese. It's like I can tell about Reese, my son. He's like a third world country, buddy. He has knocked it out. Now he's got guns, knives. If he could get grenades, he'd have them.
A sword.
Yeah, a sword. Yeah, he actually put a sword.
Hey, I carry a sword.
Loaded.
So anyway, that's all I'm going to say about that. I'm going to, because that's as much as I know about it. But again, I have had a personal encounter, and I just showed you all the photographs there of what I got right there standing still. And that thing is probably less than 40 yards away looking at me.
I got a question for y'all. Are we all in an agreement with the fact that the numbers of these different species are increasing?
100%.
They are.
I don't know. I think there's just more reports coming out because it's easier to talk about now. Finding Bigfoot made it water cooler conversation.
We are seeing a lot of juvenile tracks, a lot of them.
You know, that's what we found up there at Montana. Duke, whenever I was up there, and he's like, well, this is a juvenile area. And so I just happened to be walking through there, and coincidentally was the first track I found up there. It was a daggum juvenile track, you know. And I'm like, Chuck, a lot of ours down here, we're seeing a lot of females that are having twins, not just, you know, but actually having twins. And I have another friend of mine here who's seen several down here around Falcon and everything. Every time he's seen a mother Bigfoot, it's had twins, you know, with it. So I think our numbers may be increasing. But then if you've been around Sulphur River down there or up there in the mountains around where Chuck lives and where I live or where we research up there, that's some really thick stuff. So it could be that they're just better hidden and we're just lucky enough to have a sighting. But I tend to think their numbers are increasing there, son. Like Duke said, finding Bigfoot, regardless of what you think about it, it did do some good things for Bigfoot. It made it where you could talk about it, almost like where, you know, you had a group there where you could unburden yourself a little bit. Because I carried a burden for a long time of that on my people laughing, boy, me getting mad. I get fighting mad. And but then I finally was able to, after that right there, kind of get it off my shoulders and get it off my psyche and tell people about it, even though people still laugh. You know, that's fine too. But the saying goes, I can't remember who has a T-shirt, says it's all fun and games till the Dogman stands up. Well, that's kind of how it goes. So if they're going to make fun, they'll wish they'd listened whenever they're out there changing that tire and they look around. There's all of a sudden there's one looking at them.
Well, I'll tell you what, I had found that complex up there where they took what do you think, William? 1/4 miles worth of ridge line, and they turned it all into a big playground for the little squatlet.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you know, like, oh, let's tie some trees into knots and make a jungle gym out of it. And it looks like it's ridiculous. Like William said, trees so big that they're up to your waist and you have trouble stepping over them. And you got one laying this way and one of them 15 feet away laying the opposite direction. And you're going, well, a windstorm didn't do that. Because they're laying in opposite directions, and what the hell could push over a tree with a 3-foot, 4-foot thick trunk, you know? So we had lots of fun up there. But I told William, I said, every time we go up there, almost all that we find up there are the juvie tracks. We think this is just like a playground. There's this one larger one that you find his tracks occasionally, like 16, 17 inches. That's probably their babysitter. But usually it's just the kids. So when we went up the ridge, we weren't right next to each other. I was following one game trail, and William was following another one, zigzagging a bit, till we got up to the crest of the ridge and then started going down the spine of it. And we got up to where we were going to where this giant X structure had used to be. And I went, well, how many tracks did you find? And he goes, well, over 30. Like 33, I think.
Yeah. I mean, true. You know, and talk about those baby deals. I'm going to show you all this structure here. Look how much this looks like. If I can get it there, doggone it. Looks like a jungle gym. It may not show it. Maybe. Try to pull it. Let me see if it might be able to pull up like that. Rats. Oh, well, maybe it's not going to show. But anyway, this structure here, across the road of where Smith Park is, we'll do some research. There's a metal jungle gym. It's been in a hemisphere like that right there. And it's got the bars that you cross. Directly across the road, the Bigfoot have built a tree structure, and it looks exactly like they're going to pick up or not. But
they copied it.
There we go.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, there you go. You could see it.
Yeah.
They think they're having a contest.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and you're like, you just sit there and you just start laughing, like, oh my gosh, how smart are these things? And I said, it's right across the road. It's like said, like they're having a contest or something for their own children to have. Like Duke said, they cleared out the whole area and built, you know, playground equipment for them.
Yeah. They don't just mimic our voices.
No, very much so.
Oh yeah, I took William to one of their big pieces of playground equipment. That was across the river where they had a gigantic asterisk structure over there. And that was fun because when you get the base of the hill, you just cross the river and you look up and you go, hey, asterisk structure.
Yeah.
That's, you know, let's hike up there. This will take us like 2 minutes. And you're walking and you're walking and you're walking. And it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And you're like, how the hell big is this thing? You know, you
That's
finally
right.
get up there and you're like, oh my God, this thing's gigantic. You know,
Yeah.
the trees are like that big around the thing.
You know, and here's, if it will show, there's the structure right across the road.
Yeah, there's the dome.
There it is. There's the dome. And look how much it looked like what, you know, it's too coincidental to be coincident. You know, they're just that doggone smart.
William, at the cross.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm going to say my voice is starting to crack. I've had this respiratory stuff. I'm going to have to bow out myself, but I'm going to, so I can still have some voice for tomorrow, but I wanted to thank everybody. And I've got to go in. I've got some honey and lemon stuff I have to take there, but thank everybody for this time, man. It's a great show. I've enjoyed the heck out of this.
I have too. It's so much fun.
And if we want to do it again, we can finish the rest of the Gugwe talk, you know, later on. But I have this right here, and like I said, pretty soon I won't be able to talk if I don't bow out. So I apologize, and appreciate everybody who listened. Thanks again to our service veterans. Thank you for that, for what they've given, and thank you guys for having me on there and be willing to indulge me, you know, and because I'm excited about this stuff. I'm not kidding with you. I love Bigfoot hunting. I'm very passionate about it. But then when you have these areas down here, like where you know, y'all live in Oklahoma and where I live here, where Duke's got up there in Montana, where Daniel's been down here actually to see. First time he went in ground zero, it's like his neck was on fire just because the electricity from the Bigfoot that were, it's just amazing. So,
you know, me and William have the same amount of time in the field
Yep.
And between the two of us, you got almost a century's worth
That's
of
exactly
Bigfoot
right.
field research. We're both getting
That
really
is
close to
awesome.
the 50-year mark.
And
And
I look,
before William runs away, which is why I'm cutting in right now. Sorry, William, not trying
that's
to be
okay,
rude.
bud.
But I should let you know that you're on my show this Sunday.
Okay, yeah, I'll try to give it a look there. We've been getting past that snake bite from my dog there, so hopefully I get to start watching some stuff.
My show's having a panel discussion too, and you're on it, and Bigfoot in Germany's on it, and Blaine
good.
Tyler's on it, and Nate Rudd's on it, and Robin's on it. So yeah, Dave Scott too.
Guys, y'all listen to that too, because there's, like I said, very knowledgeable
Yeah.
people. Dave Scott was willing to open up his mind to Bigfoot research, and he's had me and Duke on his show, worldwide show. And David's now starting to have some encounters and finding some footprint stuff. Really, really a fine guy, And then we also did Fade to Black there with Jimmy Church there as well. Thank goodness for guys like that are willing to open up to the ridicule themselves for having us on there. And excuse me. And it means a big difference. And like I said, being on with what y'all have. So I appreciate y'all. I'm going to bow out.
Wait a second, Will. I need you to give me some plugs. I need you to tell me what you're up to and what you got coming up.
Okay, great. Let me do this right quick. I've got a show coming up September 7th in Natchitoches, Louisiana. It's going to be the second annual Louisiana Bigfoot Film Festival, basically put on by my friend Brian Horn. It's going to be myself, MK Davis. It's going to be the men from the show Killing Bigfoot, although they didn't name it that right there. A guy named Bobby Hamilton and Jim Lansdale, and I'm not sure if there's going to be any more there or not. Then coming in October there, I've got a show as far as I've checked last time in Branson, there with the Bigfoot Michigan Rob and Krista and all those there. So I'm very excited about doing that. Then I've got another one at the end of the month in Caddo Lake down there. If y'all ever heard of Caddo Critter, got to do a show down there. And then I've got one down there in South Texas to do, I think, towards the end of November. Again, I'm writing book 2. It's like I said, a name that was given to me by Duke there. It's called, my first one was Searching for the Unfindable. My quest for the unsolved Bigfoot. It was 47 years. Well, now I've got another book, and it's called Searching for the Unfindable, Finding the Impossible. And the reason it was named that, it's a great name because Stephen and I actually have an area that we can go to and have a reasonable suspicion that we're going to have a Bigfoot encounter or a sighting every single time we go down there. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that they recognize us. But they have, and there's just that many Bigfoot down there. So again, that's gonna be. So I hope that you guys will get it and read. It's not about me getting rich. You ain't gonna get rich writing no doggone books. But what it is, it's about getting you some background information. I don't hold anything back. I'm not that kind of guy. You're not going to, have that $1 million picture. I want everybody to know that they're real and to broaden their horizons and to see, hey man, these things, these guys aren't, he's not crazy like I thought since 1977. And so I've got basically everything in there, and including pictures. This next book's going to have a whole lot more pictures than what I had the first time there. And some of them are real good. Some of them, are game cam photography, but it's there's no doubt what you're looking at. I mean, I try not to show quote blob squatches as far as that goes. If I can't give you eyes, face, noses, head, and things like that, then I'm not going to put it in there and insult your intelligence or mine. So y'all please, like I said, I'm hoping to have it finished by the end of this month, which is August. And then I will have there's a show down here in Texarkana called A Gathering of Authors. Hopefully I'm going to get to at least debut it right there, and then also have some other books there as well. So I think you'll enjoy it. Like I said, I'm not trying to plug my book. I'm trying to plug Bigfoot research, and that Bigfoot is a real animal. And I'm going to give you real pictures just like what I had in this first book. So Searching for the Unfindable, My Quest for the Arkansas Bigfoot, book 1, and Searching for the Unfindable, Finding the Impossible, book 2. And I think you'll really enjoy it. I really do. I hope you will. If not, if you love it, tell everybody. If you don't love it, don't tell anybody. But as far as that goes, but it really does. Like I said, it's encounters that I'm in the woods, folks. Not as much as I used to be with this infection I've got there, but I'm in the woods 3 or 4 days a week. I'm driving the roads, and coincidentally got a report this week from a man who's actually seen a Bigfoot less than a mile from my house. I don't know how I'm going to deal with that because usually I leave.
You won't have to go anywhere in order to research it.
Exactly right. And he contacted me, which I so much appreciate. He said, I just got to let you know. I got a buddy. So a Bigfoot less than a mile from your house. We got some wooded areas down there. There were a lot of deer, and of course we're getting some hogs in a place called McKinney Bayou. And he said, there it is right there. And he said, I thought you need to know. So I appreciate that as well. I will keep y'all posted. on how that goes right there. And if I don't come back, well, y'all just come looking for me, because now you're going to know, look within a mile of my house right there. So, but I enjoy it. Like I said, love all you guys. You guys are really, really good. You really bring a good show. Like I said, Chuck, Duke, what you've helped me with. Daniel, gosh, like I said, he's got the best picture of Bigfoot you'll ever see that we got. And he actually was there in the woods, out in the field, and had a lady photographer lined up from Anchorage. He sent it to her, and it drew a laser drawing of the outline of the Bigfoot standing there in a tree. I said it's over 10.5 foot tall, because I went back 2 days later with a meter stick and checked it out. So one of the best you'll ever see. And folks, Bigfoot is real, and don't let anybody tell you any different. And I've enjoyed, like I said, being with everybody. Thank you so much for everybody, including all the listeners, man, for your time. I don't take that lightly. You spent time with me, and that means a lot. So I'm going to let y'all go so I can still have a voice in case my wife says get on to me. Then I can at least have a comment or two to make. That's not quite going to get it, but I appreciate it, and we'll talk to y'all next time.
Love you,
Take care,
brother.
partner.
You too, guys. Man, y'all are great. See y'all later.
See you
Bye.
Sunday.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. So is there anything else that you would like to tell us about?
My battery's going dead. I'm going to have to hop off of here too.
Okay.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
basically, avoid them. If you see one,
Mhm.
leave the area. Do not run from any cryptid, because it encourages them to chase you. But
Right.
leave the area. And there's a reason they call them face eaters.
Uh,
Right.
well,
Right.
you guys, I really, really appreciate it. Duke, it was such a joy to finally meet you. I appreciate it so much.
Well, you're very
And
welcome.
I've learned a lot. Just in the last few minutes, the last hour, 2 hours with you. I appreciate that. That means so much to me. And Daniel, thank you for all your
Thank
help.
you for having me. Great to be here, especially with people I consider field generals in research.
Don't let
Duke.
Daniel fool you. He's the future. It ain't going to take him too much longer to be up to speed, and he's going to be one of the best on the continent.
That's exciting.
Thank
So do
you.
you have
I
anything
appreciate
coming
that.
up, Duke? Do you have anything coming up or anything that you want people to know
Well,
about?
my main thrust this summer has been to get vehicles working so I can get out in the woods and actually do some field research before there's any
Yeah.
summer left, which I'm actually getting close to being able to do that now finally. But yeah,
Awesome.
summer is short in Montana, so we got about a month and a half left, and then that's it.
That's
So I'm going
it.
to have to be out
Do
in the
you
woods
have a
a lot.
fall there, or is it just go right to winter?
It depends. Some years we have our first blizzard in the middle of September, and other years we don't even have snow on the ground at the beginning of December. So there's no guessing what's going to happen. For right
Yeah.
now, the temperature, we had like 100-degree days all in the entire month of July, and now it's starting to cool down already. So we might have an earlier than average winter here, which again cuts down on how much time I got to get out in the woods. But the main thing that I got working on right now, besides rebooting the Glag Saga again, is that I am finishing the final version of Inevitably Finding Bigfoot, documentary that I premiered at the Nebraska Bigfoot Conference in April in front of the live audience there. And I decided to retool and change the ending of it because we filmed some really, really spectacular northern lights when there was that one big bombardment from space. And being that we actually had clear weather, which is unusual, and we could just go drive up to the top of a mountain to film it. Pretty ideal. So we got time lapse with this Northern Lights show going on all night long. So I decided that I wanted to change out the end of it and put that on. So anyway, once that's done, then I'll be releasing it. And I don't know if I'm going to put it on Tubi or where exactly it's going to be, but it's completely different than every other Bigfoot documentary that you've ever seen. Because first of all, unlike about 95% of them, we actually show a Bigfoot. And we actually show more than one Bigfoot. As a matter of fact, before we even get to Nebraska, we show 22 Bigfoot. So this would be a lot different than most documentaries. And the team on the documentary is me, Blaine Tyler from the Bigfoot Barn in Northeast Ontario, Canada, Christy Sci-Fi from Louisiana, my research buddy from out here, Viking, and our anchor man in Nebraska, Richard Soule, who is the main man from the Knox Gigas project and does a lot of interacting with the Russian Bigfoot researchers and sharing information with them. So what we wanted to do is just recreate Finding Bigfoot. We're going to use their format. We're just going to go get a team that doesn't live in that state. We're going to go out and try and find a Bigfoot in that state. And since we were going to all be speaking at a conference there, we were conveniently all there, and some of us got there a day early. So the plan was use that day early time to go out and spend some time in the field and see if we could find anything. Well, by the time everything was said and done, we ended up having 3 whole hours to be out in the field and try and find a Bigfoot. And our main dude, the Mr. Boots on the ground, see, we didn't have the town hall meeting because we didn't need one. I just contacted the #1 researcher in the state and went, hey, where's the Bigfoot? And he goes, oh, they're over here. And I went, okay, can you meet us over there on Thursday before we have to do the conference? And we'll see if we can find some Bigfoot for a few hours. And he's like, oh, sure. So we drove way over there. That was like a 2-hour drive to get over there. And this is in the suburbs of the capital city of Nebraska. It's not like we're driving further into the woods. We're driving toward the capital city, going into the suburbs, because that's where he says the Bigfoot are. And it was a terrible hardship, and it took us 3 whole hours, but we managed to film 3 of them.
That is awesome.
And then to make it even better, when we came back, we were staying at the Nebraska Bigfoot Museum. And me and Christy were out there late at night having a cigarette. And she looks up and she goes, there's one standing right there. And I'm like, what? Get a picture. So she did click. So we've got that in the video too. We come back to the museum and there was a bunch of activity there. One of them was peeking in the window, glaring at Blaine, giving him the red eye thing. We got a picture of another one outside while we were out there having cigarettes. They're tapping on the windows and doing all their usual Bigfoot shenanigans. But, like, hey, we got evidence for it.
Mm.
So then usually you would think that would be enough for the documentary, right? No. Then we showed what everybody did after they went home for the rest of the summer. And you know what they did? They walked around the woods and found a hell of a lot more Bigfoot. That's what they did. So this is all in inevitably Finding Bigfoot.
Right.
We're 1 for 1. Don't forget now, Finding Bigfoot, they were on for 10 years. And how many have they found?
0.
Right.
0.
And we were out one time, found 4
bet-
local ones, and showed a ton of ones from elsewhere too.
Yeah, but there's a squatch in those woods. We know that.
Yeah, according to Bobo.
Yeah.
Well, those
Well, that sounds exciting. I cannot wait to see that.
Oh, it's really fun. It's also got elements of other theatrical things in because I just can't do anything like boring normal like everybody else does. So in
Yeah.
addition to actually putting a lot of Bigfoot in a Bigfoot documentary, wow, who would have thought of doing that? It's got interesting soundtrack, which is to say I pretty much stole the soundtrack from The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. And the whole
Oh.
documentary is Wild West gunslinger themed.
That's neat. I like that.
So yeah, you get the scenes with the close in shots and stuff too. You hear that dun, 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 and it'll show 3 gradually closer shots of the Bigfoot they were showing, that kind of stuff. So lots of fun.
Well, I'm
Lots of
excited to
fun.
see it. When do you think it'll be out? I'm just curious.
It won't take me very long to finish it. I've got like 2 more projects that I'm working on right now, and then that one's next up. The other project that's before it is that some jerk stole somebody else's Bigfoot audio recording. Really great recording of 3 Bigfoot just going nuts and scaring all of the coyotes and the wolves within 20 miles. Because every time they shut up, you can hear all the wolves and coyotes whimpering and howling like they know they're about to die and they're all terrified. So it's a really great recording. But shortly after it was recorded, this guy put it out on his Facebook wall and someone stole it. And then they claimed they had recorded it in St. Louis County, Minnesota, and put it out on Sasquatch Bioacoustics channel. So they lied about that. And then that was like 10 years ago. Subsequent to that, 2 other channels have stole the same piece of video and hoaxed that they recorded it.
So is the video itself, was it recorded
No, there's no
in
video.
Georgia?
There's no video. It's audio.
But where was it originally recorded? Because I feel like I know this. Is it in was it in Georgia?
No, it was in Northeast Louisiana. And the person that recorded it doesn't want to be public and hasn't come forward with it, which is the only reason there hasn't been legal action until now.
Oh my
But I know
gosh.
him, and I absolutely believe that he's the one that recorded it, because he could be talking to me on the phone and go, "Hey, check this out," and you can hear the Bigfoot in the background making a racket. So there's no doubt in my mind. And the first guy stole it and claimed it was St. Louis County, Minnesota. It had been recorded there. Lie. And then
Yeah.
two other jerks stole it. One of them is a trucker who's sitting in a truck stop somewhere where it's all woods around. And apparently he's got an external speaker or something where he's playing the vocalizations. And he's reacting like it's actually happening right there. And there's no doubt whatsoever it's the same recording. And the third guy, same thing. He's up in Alaska prospecting. And he's got a speaker out in the woods playing this recording. And he's like, "Oh my God, I don't know what that is. I better get out of the woods."
Oh,
Yeah, I'm busting all three of you freaking frauds.
go get him. Get him.
Yep. And it got a special coming out, Duke Chack, the hoax stalker.
Love it. I can't wait to see these. Sounds like a lot of fun.
Well, don't forget to miss the don't miss the one this Sunday, because that's got the all-star crew on it. We recorded this one at the end of the year, 2021, right before Christmas. It was the year-end wrap-up, and we had William Lunsford, and we had Blaine Tyler from Northeast Ontario, and like I said, he's a cast member on Inevitably Finding Bigfoot. And then
Yeah.
we had Robert Boston, who is Bigfoot in Germany, the guy that actually brought to attention that, by the way, there's Bigfoot in Germany. And then, of course, Robin McRae, who is now Robin Haynes, #1 Bigfoot mind speaker out there, and Nate Rudd from WIBS, Washington, Idaho Bigfoot Search. And he's like my neighbor, a couple hundred miles away. So I think that's everybody. Did I forget anybody? I think that's everybody. And of course, Dave Scott, the host. And Dave Scott was just at the Nebraska Bigfoot Conference this spring, too. He did a presentation there because he's been actually going out and doing field research for a couple of years now. Me and Robin have been giving him tips, and he's been finding stuff. So his presentation was kind of almost more interesting than some of the elite guy presentations, because here's the point of view of somebody that just got into this just a couple years ago, and here's what they found so far. And it was, really cool. And you can find that over on my Rumble channel. That's already up over there.
Okay.